All right, here we are. I'm with Amy Lou, and we're going to make Coach Dean's famous pulled pork recipe. And Amy is here, and she's helped me with all these dry ingredients here. We are going to make the dry rub for the pork first. Oh, there you go. All right, we'll pop it on there. Make sure it's nice and tight, right? Now what do? Shake it up. Just shake it up. Just shake it. Oh, you're going to jump up and down and shake it up. Nice. How about going side to side? All right, side to side. And let's take a look. Is it all mixed up? There we go. How easy was that? Boom. All right, so I'm back here with Amy Lou, and we have made a brine for the pork butt. It's called pork shoulder, Boston butt. What? That's not that fun. Come on. Anyway, we made the brine already, so it's in the bucket down here. You can see all this is a Home Depot bucket. So it's 4 quarts of water. There's a cup of salt in there. Some of our spices that we already made, a couple bay leaves. And the reason we brine it is we're going to cook this pork shoulder really for a long time. It can take anywhere between 12 and 14 hours. So by brining, it just keeps the meat really moist and tender in that long-term cooking. So I'm just going to put both these shoulders right in the brine solution. There's one, and there's two. And basically all I'm going to do is make sure that they're pretty much covered. And then I'm going to get into the fridge in just a second. You can see that this is a working kitchen because there's like dirty dishes in the sink and everything here on the counter. Yeah, we actually have a real life here. If you wanted to see it cleaned up, you probably should have checked yesterday. So I'm going to grab some ice out of the ice box. I'm going to cover that up and make sure I have plenty of ice in there because I'm going to brine it overnight. And then cover it up. I'll bring it down in the basement, which is real cool, so that ice doesn't all melt. And then tomorrow morning, we'll be ready to show you how to get that thing ready and stuck in the oven. All right, so 4:14 Friday morning, and I guess Amy didn't want to get up, so Coach Nancy's helping me out this morning. But I've already taken one pork out of the brine and done the rub, so we're going to do the second one now. So I'm just going to take this out of the bucket. Here's our brine bucket. Oh, there's the timer for the oven going off, getting that heated up. So I'm just going to take this pork shoulder, put it in the sink here, just dry it off with a big towel. That's it. Just get a little bit of that salt off. And goes right in the roasting pan. I do it with the fat cap down to start with because we're going to end up with the fat cap on top. And then I just take my spice mix, the rub, and I do exactly what it says. We kind of just rub it in here, get it on the top, same idea. And just as much mix as I got, I'll use it all up here. I might make a little bit more spice rub because I usually like to have some that I put in the pork after we finished it too. So we'll see what we got left here. Because I don't have any brown sugar in this particular mix, I don't feel like I really need to coat it real heavy because there's nothing to buffer that spice. So that's good. So you're gonna put you can see I have them both here. Fat cap is up on these. I do have a little bit of spice mix left. I'm gonna leave that to put in. So I've just got these rubbed down. I'll go ahead and wash my hands. And then I'm just going to simply take both of these. Now you can see in this particular case, one of them is a lot larger than the other. So I'm going to take my meat thermometer and I'm going to put it in the thickest part of the biggest one. And just make sure that you don't nail a bone here. That's good. And come over to the oven. So the oven is set at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. And I know that sounds like it's pretty low. Is that high enough to cook pork? Yes, it is. We're going to let this pork cook until it reaches 200 degrees Fahrenheit on the thermometer. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. And it won't even turn on yet because the internal temperature of the meat's not high enough. But you can see we've got that at 225. We're going to let that pork cook until the internal temperature reaches 200 degrees, and then we're going to turn off the oven and wait for it to go back down to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. So that usually takes a couple hours after it reaches 200, which is why this process takes so long. So last time we did this, I think it went at least 12 hours or a little more before we actually got to turn the temperature down. It went 10 to 12 hours. Kind of depends on the size of the meat. And then we'll wait till it goes down to 170, and then we'll show you how we pull it. All right, so here we are. We are getting ready to pull the second pork. I've already done the first one. So we let this piece of Boston butter, the pork shoulder, cook until the internal temperature was 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That took about 12 and a half hours. And now it is, let me do the math here, 15 hours since we put it in the oven, and it's back down to 170. So it's about 9:30 at night here, and you can just see this thing is just so tender right now. So to pull it, all I'm going to do is start putting this meat in the crock and just start pulling it as I go. Now you'll notice I left the fat cap on. There's varying opinions whether you should do that or not. Obviously, if you leave the fat cap on, you're getting more fat in the finished product. I guess depending on how you feel about that. That could be good or bad. The flavor is just amazing. I just can't bring myself not to do it. But if you want to lower the fat even more, you'll notice in the pan that there's a lot of fat that renders off of this pork as it is. Goes in the crock. Now the bone is still in there, so I can actually pick that up if I can grab that bone. And there it is. Grab it by the bone, pull that right out of there, set it aside, and all I got's meat left. Just keep going in the crock. Now about now I got a little over half of it pulled. It's just shredding like so easily, and that's really the magic of cooking it so low and slow. I got a little bit of my rub mix left. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of that in there, half of it or so, halfway through, and just mix that in. Give us a little more spice and flavor as we continue to mix this up. All right, let's put the rest of the rub on here. And we're gonna give that a good mix. Keep on shredding as I go. Get that well incorporated in there. Now we're not gonna eat this tonight, obviously. It's for a party that we're having tomorrow. So we'll refrigerate this, let it cool and refrigerate it, and then we'll heat it back up right in the crock pot on low heat so it doesn't do any more cooking. But I guarantee if you're at the party tomorrow, you're gonna love it. All right guys, there we go. That's it. That's Coach Dean's famous pulled pork recipe with help from Coach Nancy, help from Amy. Give it a try, guys. It's well worth the effort. Coach Dean out.